Laban Ditchburn, aka the world's best courage coach, coming in live for the 5th consecutive day, excluding the weekends. And big shout out to all the Instagram people, the YouTube, the Facebook, and the LinkedIn. This is part of a 30-day commitment to get on and share some ideas, thoughts that have been helpful in my journey, especially over the last couple of years. Today, I wanted to talk about my relationship with my beautiful wife, Anna. And I wrote a post that I put on social media yesterday that was, I thought, an important post to share. And the post was about a lot of the acknowledgement that I get, and I get asked from people quite a lot about how we're able to have such a loving and fruitful, prosperous relationship. And it's not that what we're portraying, whether it be online or in real life, is different to how we are in real life. It's the opposite. We are exactly who we are online and in real life. And it's not that we don't have challenges in our relationship. Of course we do, like anyone, but it's our ability to quickly overcome those blocks, which I think has been a real superpower. And the post was along the lines of, before I met Anna, we've been together for 4 years, over 4 years now. We got married in April of this year. My first marriage, Anna's second. I could have easily been married 2 or 3, 4 times before, and if I didn't have a crippling fear of gamophobia, which is the terminology for fear of marriage. But it's the 12-month cycle that would be it. That would be the cap. And that was if it was good. And the only reason that we didn't sort of part ways from these earlier relationships any sooner was because, well, let's face it, right? Nobody likes being alone. And it's easier sometimes to stay in a relationship because of the fear of having to go and find someone else. And we quite often settle. And I know, speaking from my own experience, that was one of the things that I used to do. And of course, all you're doing is that you're making life miserable for both parties. And that's one of the things about Anna that I'm so unbelievably blessed, is that we have such a loving friendship, romantic, spiritual, emotional. We're on a similar trajectory in terms of what we want to achieve in the world, how we want to impact the world. We're leveling up, expanding our consciousness at a similar rate. And so that's sort of what I wanted to touch on today. And a lot of the questions are around, how did you guys meet? And if you haven't read the book, it's called Bet on You. This is what came out about a year ago. And this is my journey of conquering the demon drink and drugs and gambling and philandering and limiting beliefs and negative self-talk, autoimmune disease, running ultramarathons, and it's very entertaining is the word on the street. Not just my humble opinion, but I also talk about how I met Anna. And I'll spoiler alert: if you haven't read the book and you want to go and read it, just block your ears for the next minute. So I met Anna when we were back in Australia in 2018, and the year of 2018 was really a watershed moment in my life. It was when a lot of huge transformative experiences took place, and the day that I met Anna, I was stone cold sober, as was she. I was on my way to a meeting across town. I worked in the CBD, the Central Business District of Melbourne, and I walked out onto what was Queen Street. And from about 45 yards away, I spied this woman, this unbelievable creature that struck me with absolute beauty, from a hard wiring, from a DNA reproductive point of view, and also from the aesthetics of just how magnificent she looked. And what I described next, I don't know whether it was true, but this is my truth at least. I was struck by a bolt of lightning picked up, levitated the entire length of the gap between us, plonked down in front of her, and with the confidence of 1,000 Spartan warriors, think that movie 300, I said, "Excuse me, but you are stunning. And I wondered if you have a drink with me one time." And she said, "You look good too." Now, for the men out there that date women who have never what they call a cold approach, like just going up and speaking to someone that you're interested in without, any warm intro or whatever, you know that is a daunting prospect for the 99.99% of the population. But I tell you, and I talk about this in the book as well, I was a prolific online dater, and I thought that was the only way that I could meet women. And over the course of 4 years, I had 2 12-month relationships during that time, but in the gaps between, and sometimes not, I went on 150 first dates in that time. And so it doesn't include rather the second and third dates that would happen. And when you work out the logistics of it, it was about 3 dates a week. It was it was almost a full-time job. It was sort of between my old job and recruitment to dating. I was working about 90 hours a week. And none of the connections that I ever had were really fulfilling in any way. Don't get me wrong, I met some amazing women, but never ever had that spark and that connection that I had with Anna. Nothing is even compared to, that was a biblical moment. It was a God moment when her and I met. And I know not everyone's experience is going to be like that, but I would encourage you, particularly in this world, to be deliberate in the way that you want to meet someone. Energetically, you will be matched with your person, and you've got to do the work. And I just saw on Instagram, Anna's jumped on, she just said, "I wasn't just magnificent. I did some work on myself too before I met you." And then she just asked the question, what are some of the main lessons that I've learned on those first dates? Well, it's a great question. It taught me a lot about myself and the transference of energy. And the online dating became like another acquired skill for me. It was sort of part of a sex addiction. I'm not just talking about the physical act. It was, trying to meet women became a sport almost. And I was sober for the majority of those dates as well. I quit drinking in 2016, and a lot of those dates were sober. What did it teach me? It taught me, I was a bit slow on the uptake, I've got to say, but it taught me about what I wanted in a partner. And I think a lot of us focus on, until we're aware of this at least, till we become consciously incompetent, we focus on what we don't want. And unfortunately, the way that the universe works, it magnifies what we don't want when we focus on it. So I know in talking to Anna, once we got to know each other and we were full-blown together, moved in together, and we compared lists that we had written for each other. And, if you talk to Anna, she wanted a bald New Zealander who didn't drink and do drugs and gamble and smoke cigarettes and was into fitness and had a good sense of humor. Like, if you know anything about Melbourne, Australia, trying to find those kind of characteristics are physically impossible given what I've come across, certainly. But we really focused on what we did want, and too often I see people settling and they compromise, and it ends up affecting everyone around them. So my encouragement would be to focus only on what you do want and eliminate focusing on what you don't want, because all the universe will do will magnify that, right? Some of the other lessons it taught me, it was a really great psychology experiment. And I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun on those dates, and particularly being sober as well. I was present with the person. It taught me about the power of listening. And you hear me talk about this a lot. I remember Steve Hardison, known as the Ultimate Coach, talks about the power is in the listener, right? He talks about, the state of being is trying to get people to listen and pay attention, to be present. And when people feel like they're heard, particularly women, I'm sure I can only talk about myself, but when I was able to be present, no distractions, no cell phones, no smart notifications, it really allowed me to connect. And I transferred a lot of those acquired skills into when Anna and I started dating, and I made a point of making sure that every moment we had, certainly in the early days, because no one's perfect, that I was able to be absolutely present. And it's a sign of it's a respect thing, I think. And it's helped me in other areas of my life as well, not just with dating. That part of it's sorted for me now, although I would also encourage to even continue that courting process until you die, right? Until one of you dies. Because that's really been a catalyst for the success that Anna and I have had in our relationship. I'm trying to think of some other obvious benefits to deleting the dating apps. I think with the way the direction the world has gone, even in the last 12, 18 months, there's been a massive polarization across politics and values and behaviours. And I think, if you are going to rely on dating apps to meet people, I think being very specific about what you do want in your profile is going to help polarize away the people that you don't want. And yeah, the numbers, the likes, the super likes might drop off significantly, but you're going to save a heap of time as well. While you're building up, and men, I'm encouraging you to take the reins on this, because I don't think that women should be predominantly making the going up to men and asking them out. I think not that there's anything bad with that per se, but it's the dynamic of it. I think that's the responsibility in a heterosexual relationship, at least, of the man to have some balls to go up and be direct and be honest with his intentions, right? If people were able to be honest from the get-go, you'd cut out a lot of the crap. And this is this whole thing in your dating profile. Like, if you've got very specific boundaries that you do not want crossed, or core beliefs, spiritual or religious beliefs, you don't want to, I don't think, bring someone into your life that doesn't have those similar values, because it's just going to cause headaches, and you're going to be compromising quite a lot, I think, further down the line. And once the honeymoon period sort of runs off, then that's when the shit hits the fan. And thanks, darling. I'm so grateful that she's helped me on this and verifying that I'm not an insane man. It's just one of those things, it's amazing the amount of questions you get when people see that you're truly happy, and, the trust is there. The trust is a great little topic to bring up as well. My background, I lived a life. I was a hedonist and, did a lot of crazy stuff, right? If you imagine Charlie Sheen meets Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, And I said to Anna, when we first got together, I said, Anna, you can ask me anything you want as long as you're happy to hear the answer. And I meant it. And I got a lot of those values off a book that I read by Mark Manson called Models. Mark Manson's the author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck book, which is a very, very popular book, and a good book to read as well. But Models, it was attracting women through honesty. And I started doing that in 2016, 17 when I read it, whenever it came out. And so I had this conversation with Anna, and she took me up on it. She took me up on that offer. And as painful as that was, it ended up really building a super strong bond of trust between the both of us. And now we're able to be totally honest with each other. We can talk about anything, and nothing really bubbles up and boils over, because you can feel confident that you can talk about whatever's on your mind, and that there will be an acceptance and a gratitude for having the courage to be brave enough to share those things. And as a result, Anna felt comfortable sharing information with me that she'd never told anyone, and had kept, bundled up for 20 years, and allowed her to go on her healing journey. And so I think this is the significance of stepping up, making that declaration, being not afraid to put yourself out there. If you haven't heard the podcast, I got the podcast, Become Your Own Superhero, and I interview who I think are fascinating, interesting, brilliant, amazing people from all walks of life that have different points of view and ideas on how to do things. And some of them got me in some hot water with regards to like the main social media platforms that don't like the dialogue, don't like, conflicting arguments. They like to be silenced, and all I want to know the truth so I can make an informed decision, right? And I'll never stop doing that. I couldn't give two fucks. Like, it's too important, it's too significant, and it's interesting seeing what's happening on Twitter at the moment since Elon Musk has taken over. There's a lot more. The site's the busiest it's ever been, by the way, and there's a lot more opinion. We need differing opinions. Don't take my advice on any of this relationship stuff. Don't take it blindly. You got to figure it out for yourself. You might figure out a solution that is the complete opposite of what I've had success with, and you can use that, and then you can talk about it. Don't take my blind advice. It's my encouragement to you. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. Stay tuned for the rest of the lives. They're going Monday through Friday. I'm bringing on some amazing guests. We've got people like Robert Scott Bell, who's into medical freedom, and we've got Dr. Daniel Hanna, who's coming on, who's known as Carl Jung 2.0. We've got some other marketing geniuses that can help us make a lot of money in an environment that's looking pretty dire at the moment economically. So if you haven't got the book, in the bottom hand of the screen, it's got the link to my link tree. If you're watching on Instagram, you can find it in my bio, and there's the link through to the book and the podcast as well. And big shout out to you, Big Steve Hardison, for dialing in. This is Hugh Hefner gone down under. Well, this is actually the jacket, the crushed velvet jacket that I got married in. So that was the significance of wearing it today. So good on you, Steve, for joining in. And for everyone else that's tagging along and supporting all this work that we're doing, have a great day if you're not having one. And if you are, well, keep up the good work, would you?